Hey, folks, I have no idea why I can't get my good camera to come on, but I wanted to speak to you just for a few minutes tonight about editing your book. I wrote the book Tanker Pilot, as you see up here beside me. And one of the first questions and challenges I had was, how in the world am I going to edit 53 chapters of this book? I didn't know how the publisher was going to edit it, but I had to figure out pretty fast, how do you edit a manuscript? And I want to let you in on about three or four things that I learned. First one, when you're editing your manuscript, the best thing you can do is read it out loud, each chapter, because you're going to find some words that don't quite fit together. One of these things is not like the other. And believe me, you're going to say to yourself, how did I ever write that? I went through every stinking chapter and read it out loud, sometimes two or three times after I edit it and edit it. Now, I had a very unusual way of writing my book because you see, I can't type, but I used the old-fashioned debriefing method from the Air Force where you wrote it out on a whiteboard. And I literally, like your elementary school teacher told you, outlined each of my chapters on a whiteboard, took a picture of it, and that's what I would use when I would dictate in Google Documents my chapter. Now, Google Documents does not understand military speak. When you typed in F-14 Tomcat, it would write F and then the word 14 and then the word Tomcat, which was Tomcat. But the great thing about Google Documents is it learns. And over a time period of me making the changes, no, not F-14 Tomcat, I had it actually put it in the right format for me. So it learned military terms because it created its own glossary. Now, in Google Documents, it does a pretty good job of editing everything out once it understands your voice and how you speak and type in the voice typing function. But again, you have to put the periods in and you have to say period, comma, all those kinds of things. And every once in a while, you miss that. So I should say your first editing is just going through the document, reading it out loud and saying, okay, does this make sense? Second step that I did was I got a quarterly subscription to Grammarly.com, Grammarly.com. It'll cost you about $49.99, I think, for 3 months. And believe me, folks, it's worth it. The best part about having a Grammarly subscription is the amount of tools that are available to you when you are editing. So once I got the chapter spoken out loud and where I thought it needed to be, I put it in Grammarly. Grammarly then goes and looks through the entire chapter and document and then does all of the grammar and punctuation for you. If there's word combinations that it doesn't like, it will tell you that, and it'll even give you options for writing it better. And I went with a lot of those options. Some of them I didn't, because again, Grammarly doesn't understand military speak, but still, Grammarly did about a 80% of my document it was spot on. It gives you synonyms. You don't have to look up a thesaurus. It's actually got a thesaurus in it. So it will tell you, hey, I know you use this word, but here are some potential better words to use in the sentence the way you have it structured. So it was invaluable. And of course, it does all the punctuation, all the spelling. I mean, it's fantastic for editing. So I tell all of my students, when you are editing, you have to have a Grammarly subscription because it is an absolute time saver. Now, once you get it out of Grammarly, again, read it out loud 2 or 3 times. Does the sentences and the paragraphs make sense? Oh, the other thing Grammarly will do is say, hey, these paragraphs aren't in the right flow. And it'll tell you maybe this one needs to be above this one or below this one, whatever. But again, read it out loud so that you're making sense to yourself. Because believe me, there were numerous times where I went, okay, that doesn't make sense even out of Grammarly. And I re-edited it, put it back in, and ran it again in Grammarly. This is a fantastic tool. There is a free function to Grammarly, but the best thing about having a subscription is every month you get a report on your mistakes and trends. Trends for the use of certain words, trends for the use of certain phrases. All of that comes to you at the end of every month. And it'll say, congratulations, you did this many words and this many paragraphs on Grammarly, and here's some of the trends we see. And believe me, those trends are an absolute lifesaver because a lot of us use the same sentences and speak the same way, all those kinds of things. And Grammarly will help you flow your paragraphs even better. Now, third thing, and this is a new thing I did not have when I wrote my book and my chapters, is Chat GPT. Put your chapters in Chat GPT and use prompts like check spelling, check grammar, check word usage, do it in my voice, which is really unique because after you write a couple of chapters, ChatGPT understands how you talk. And when you say write in my voice, it will write it as if you were talking. And I was very skeptical about this at first when my wife told me, oh, it'll write it in your voice. I'm like, yeah, sure. Um, I don't think so. But again, it was pretty spot on. It was pretty close. Okay. Let's see other prompts that I use. Oh, write it in an eighth grade level. Most of your readers only read at an eighth grade level. So that is one of the prompts that I put in there. And for somebody that writes military novels, we tend to be very technical and very culture specific. And in the military, we kind of have our own vocabulary. And ChatGPT knows that. So when you tell it, write it in my own voice, it understands, oh, Mark was a former KC-135 pilot. His lexicon is this. He talks like this. His voice inflection is like this, and it does a pretty good job of that. Let's see other prompts that I used. Um, make it readable to a broad audience because you have to remember it isn't going to be just military people that are going to read your book. Millions and millions of people read J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series that weren't into magic, weren't into sorcery. But I tell you, my daughter learned how to read because she was reading J.K. Rowling's books. So one of the prompts you put in is again, for a broader audience. And I'll put these prompts down in the show notes below. Let ChatGPT go through it. Now, at the end, ChatGPT will also make some suggestions and say, hey, here's some things we can do with it. And it'll range from, would you like us to um, create graphics for it? Would you like it to flow with the other previous chapters that you've written? All those kinds of things. ChatGPT will ask you if you want to do those. It'll also give you other prompts too. And by all means, take those as suggestions and say, yeah, do this one. Not so keen on this one, and then let it run. Once you run it through two or three times, again, read it out loud. Go through it one more time with you just sitting down with the chapter, the paragraphs, the wording, the dialogue, everything. Read it out loud two or three times. And I will tell you, you can over edit your book because you begin to think about things and you overthink what you have written. Don't do that because you'll constantly be changing sentences and words and paragraphs and moving this paragraph here and this paragraph there. Grammarly and ChatGPT have pretty much done that for you. Don't over edit and overthink your editing once you get the chapter done. Then, fourth thing, put it away for a couple days. Work on other chapters. Create other ideas that you want to put in your book and just let it sit for a while and send it out to your beta readers. By beta readers, I mean those are close friends that are not going to tell you, oh, this is great. This is fantastic. Oh, you're such a great writer. You know, like family members, your mom, all right, your dad. Send it to people that are going to be very critical of your writing, people that you can trust to tell you, no, I don't think you should go this way with this paragraph, or hey, here's a better way to do this. Because believe me, my better readers, particularly a couple of them, were my best critics. And the great thing about my book was I know a lot of people, and the people that were involved in the events that I talk about in my book, I sent the chapters to them. So not only were they my better readers, I trusted them, but they were also involved in the events. And they could say to you, hey, this is the way I remember this. I don't remember it this way. I don't remember this conversation going this way. Now, I had a lot of journals. I have a very good memory for events, but still, I got a few things wrong. And in one case, my good friend Trigger, who was a F-18 Hornet pilot on the Truman, had kept all of his what we call lineup cards, all of his basically cliff notes for his missions. And he sent me those and said, hey, here's what I had on my lineup card. Here's the timing and the frequencies and all that kind of stuff, which are invaluable. I had one other friend, John Boy, who kept his lineup cards from Desert Storm. So Trigger and John Boy had great inputs for me because they had kept some of these really historic documents that we wore on our thighs, that they wore on their thigh into combat on their knee boards on both thighs that had all this great information in it. And as a matter of fact, one of the great thing about Triggers was he had all the latitude, longitude for the air refueling areas that were in northern Iraq for the shock and awe campaign. So I was able to recreate all of those because of just one lineup card and mission book that he sent me. Those are the people that you want to send your chapters to that were involved with events, have a different perspective. And by different perspective, I mean, I refueled these guys and turned around and went home. Trigger and John Boy went into Baghdad shooting missiles, into Mosul dropping bombs, those kinds of things. So they took all the gas that I had and then went and did a mission with it. That was invaluable information to add to the story, add to the timing, the route, everything. And John Boy and Trigger are weapons school grads. Trigger, a Top Gun grad. So we have a certain language and a certain way that we write our mission paperwork up, which again was freaking invaluable when it came time to write those chapters on Cyrus crosses the Sinai, the North War, and drinks for Puba's parties, the opening night of Desert Storm. Those are the kind of better readers that you want. People that you know were involved with the events and that will tell you, hey, this is wrong. This is the way I remember it. And John Boy and Trigger and I actually had phone calls where we talked for John Boy and I talked for 2 hours. Trigger and I talked for about an hour and a half, going over certain events. And you know what was funny about that was John Boy and Trigger went, "Oh, wait a minute. I forgot about this. Oh, wait a minute. What about this? Hey, here's something I remember from that event." And it begins to trigger stuff in their minds that adds to your manuscript and makes it authentic, makes it very readable, but more importantly, those kinds of details grab your readers, puts them back in their seat and go, oh my gosh, I can't put this book down. So just to recap, number one, you have to get it out of your head onto paper and read it out loud to yourself first. Two, get a subscription to Grammarly.com. Cost about $50 for 3 months. Put every chapter through Grammarly, sometimes twice, because I made substantial edits to some of my chapters based on some of these conversations I had with people like John Boy and Trigger. Again, read it out loud to yourself to make sure, hey, am I hearing what I'm hearing? Does it make sense? Three, send it through ChatGPT with some good prompts like spelling, grammar, flow, grab the reader, eighth grade reading level. And I'll put some of those prompts in the show notes below. Then one more time, fourth, send it out to your better readers, people that you trust to tell you the truth, that will say, hey, this is really good here, or hey, this needs some more work. Those are my keys to editing your book and your chapters. I wrote 53 chapters. Only 22 are in the book. But using this process, I got picked up by the first people that saw my manuscript, Simon and Schuster. Their imprint for their conservative stuff is called Threshold Editions. I didn't have one rejection notice. Normally it takes 12 to 15 months to edit, collate, publish a book. They did mine in 9 months because my manuscript was so clean. My book is, I think, 320 pages long. I'm not going to reach around and get an exact number, but they only had 62 edits and changes that they wanted me to make. Some of those were pretty small. Some of them were pretty big. There was 3 chapters they wanted me to combine into one, which was kind of tough to do because it was 2 different events, but we were able to do it. And my book went on the fast track, got published for Veterans Day in 2017 because of this process that I used, these steps that I made when I did the editing. When the executive vice president of Threshold Editions called me on the phone, says, we're doing your book, we're sending you a contract, we're giving you a 6-figure advance. He said, Mark, your manuscript is one of the cleanest manuscripts we've ever received. And then I sent him the pictures. And they said, we can't decide. We have never seen the quality and the kind of pictures that you sent us. Would you please pick 32 pictures out of the 40 you sent us and give us the captions for them, which I ran through Grammarly, ran through some of my beta readers before we published them. And that's how I got my book together. And folks, let me tell you, when you get a phone call from a major publishing house telling you you've got one of the cleanest manuscripts we've ever received, we're doing your book in 9 months, we're sending you a six-figure contract, you'll have it in your inbox tomorrow, and that shows up in your bank account, it's a great feeling. Now, some of you may find some other steps. I hope these four help you. If you have steps that helped you, please send them to me so we can share them. So we can share them on the Discord channel and get them out there. But these four basic steps allowed me to create a manuscript that a major publishing house was able to accomplish and get my book published and on the street in 9 months instead of 12 to 15. Thanks to all of you for participating in this writing journey. And next time, we are going to talk about how do you even come up with the chapters for a book? Brainstorming. Brainstorming your chapters and your ideas is going to be the next module in this piece. I realize I did this backwards, but today's Wednesday and I felt like talking about editing because today I was editing a new book that I'm thinking about writing. This is Sluggo, Marcus Serra with the Military Writers Club, signing out here.